and community, right? Community of interest is really the long-lasting impact. Yeah, so how to adapt a module that somebody else developed, share your modules, provide as much adapter support tools, mechanism. I think you're trying to do that in your own module so that you can help others adapt it. And the adapter here is the professor, is the one that makes the decision that this module, I will use this module in my class. So you should make sure that your module is adaptable by another professor who wants to use it. If it makes sense to the professor, it will make sense to the student as well. Next slide. Jenny, were you supposed to present this, or was it me? Or yeah.
This is still your section.
Okay. So, and I'm not sure if I'm prepared to talk about it, and I have no problem admitting that, but I guess here there's instructional content, conditions, engagement processes, and unless somebody else gives me a help here, I would suggest that we move on to the next slide.
Sure,
and save you guys the time.
I'll talk about this one in mod.
Okay, here comes.
So if you look on the right side, you see competence. So changes in competence over time, that's the same thing as learning, is a way of thinking about that. So if we want to get students to that end goal, we want to support learning, then we need to think about engaging them. So that's what active learning, one of the kind of hallmarks of active learning is it's that active cognitive engagement. So engagement processes in the research have been thought of as motivations to learn, right? Some people are intrinsically motivated, some people are extrinsically motivated by grades or rewards, but people have different motivation for why they're doing something. And one of the things we've tried to do in these modules is make them very relevant to the students, right? Come up with intrinsically engaging and motivating tasks. For instance, I'm thinking about Varun and Sebnem's task where students have to investigate why the local people are getting skin lesions, and it's all about the groundwater. And so, right, that kind of intrinsically motivating task leads to behavioral engagement. Behavioral engagement means how much are they interacting with the text? How are they doing the reading? How much effort are they putting in? And those things together lead to changes in competence or learning. And all of that first has to come from the instructional content and conditions created by the teacher. So if we create the right conditions, then we can increase students' motivation, engagement, and learning. So that's what this slide is about.
Thank you, Melissa. And here is another slide that maybe Jenny can help with, but I guess this is about, so I see Martin raise his hand.
Yeah, before we go into a different topic, I wanted to ask you a question about the funding situation. So one question is, what is the sort of sustainability of HydroLearn? Will you be getting increments in the future so it can be maintained in some way? And my second question is, there's not only the opportunity to submit educational proposals, but even for a standard NSF proposal, you always have the broader impact statements, right? And the question is, how could we link to HydroLearn in that broader impact statement? Have people had success doing that? And is there maybe text one could share that one could include in just standard proposals? So those are my two questions related to what you said earlier.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Martin. And these are good questions. So as far as the first part, the long-term sustainability of HydroLearn, this year ending in not this September, the following September, that's the end of our project. So we will no longer have funding from NSF, and we can continue to write proposals and what have you. But we are also talking with Quasi, right, which you're familiar with, and they have an interest in sustaining HydroLearn one way or another. So so that conversation is still ongoing, and hopefully, they have seen the value of the platform and the community that was developed around it. So they are interested in providing that sustainability solution through their own resources. So that's good news because it will give some life to the project beyond the grant cycle. The second part of your question was about, yeah, it's not only education, absolutely. And we did write support letters to other folks who are submitting grants to NSF. We would welcome to collaborate with you if there's a role for us in your project, if it's just a kind of a support letter that we will help you host the modules and HydroLearn or things like that. We don't need to be part of your team. We can just write support letters or commitment letters. And we have done that in the past. And I believe there were a couple cases that were successful. You know, I hate to claim the success because of HydroLearn, but I hope it helped one way or another. So yeah, we were happy to do any of that, any of the above. I guess these were the two questions, or did I miss something, Martin?
No, those were the two questions. I mean, maybe the second one went a little bit further. You know, you could, I mean, it probably would help people if you had some templates, you know, that we could include in our proposal, you know, basically supporting the collaboration with you. And if, you know, if I mean, one could think about putting also money into the budget to support this interaction in some way, right? And I don't know how it would work on your end. So some information on your end, how that could function might be useful.
Yeah, and I think, Martin, NSF has standard language on this collaboration letter that everybody goes with, and it depends on the details too. For example, if you're writing a grant to NSF, it depends on what you want to do with HydroLearn, and the language determines from there. But yeah, I mean, that would be great too. I mean, if the collaboration, if all what you need to do with HydroLearn is to post the material there, for example, and get some support from us on just hosting it there, I don't think we need money as long as we have this year left in the project. Past that, if the ask is for something more substantial, maybe developing some new feature in HydroLearn, or you know, some new data capability or whatever, then it makes sense to include money in your grant. If you need one of our team, for example, Melissa or I or Dave or anybody to help you with some aspect of your project, that, you know, now you know us and we'll be happy to help fund it or not, depending on the scope, you know. So we are open to all of the above, and you know, we'll try to work on the language. You're right, Martin. Maybe we even put it on our website saying HydroLearn is interested to help people who are willing to write proposals, and maybe just a blurb language about what HydroLearn is and how it can support others in their grants. I think that's also a good suggestion, I think. Just to open the door and be more inviting, like probably you're suggesting. Right. Okay. And Haroon and everybody, I mean, Dave or Melissa, Belize or others, if you have thoughts on that, feel free to answer on our behalf. Haroon, your question?
Yes, I have. I since this topic is open again, I had a couple of questions too. So most importantly, I noticed from the poll that there are many people interested in developing a proposal kind of derived from what we are learning through your proposal. Would it be possible to, because I couldn't see the names of people, because it would be nice for some of us to maybe form small groups where we start conversations of what we can actually do. And I think that would be a good service if the PIs of this grant could help maybe form this group. Maybe because I don't know who these people are, but you guys know probably who are the people who are interested, or maybe we can have another poll where we can find out, and based upon the interest, we can start conversations with each other, maybe offline from this workshop.
I think that's a great idea, Haroon, and without volunteering any of us too soon, let's, you know, we'll talk about it as a HydroLearn team and see what makes most sense. I mean, that's part of community building, right? I mean, I think that feeds right into that. So it's great that you suggested. So let's you know, think a little bit more about it and then come back to you guys with some suggestions on how to do that.
And you have a question in the chat from Nate.
Nate, okay. To follow up on Mark's, can you provide an example how researchers have interacted with hydrogen, the typical NSF hydrology and engineering proposal? Sure. I think that the typical ask that we have been getting from these proposals is that part of their broader impact, whether it's if it's a engineering research proposal, you know, not education focused. So they have been using HydroLearn primarily to say, we will develop some learning material and we'll post it on HydroLearn. We'll host it in HydroLearn. And that was the typical example of how people have been leveraging HydroLearn in their proposals. You know, like I said, it's, you know, we can extend that to help with assessment or evaluation. That's of course more of engaged role than just hosting the module on HydroLearn. Also, we have developed quite a bit of knowledge on building effective modules, right? So that's something that can also be leveraged in your proposal, is to help you develop more effective learning activities. So these are some of the ideas. Melissa or Dave or others, feel free to weigh in, but
so as I think about this discussion, it occurs to me that sustaining this sort of workshop might be a good idea. And I guess this is the last one that's going to be funded out of the current project. But if a subset of us want to get together and try and write a proposal to NSF or any appropriate agency to continue offering these sort of workshops, to continue to propagate the information, to broaden it, maybe also to graduate education. I mean, that's an opportunity that it just takes somebody with time and energy to follow up on.
no. Melissa here writes about somebody used it in a career proposal. That's true. So Sina can consider applying for other funding agencies other than US and NSF, given international fellows might be interested. Absolutely, right. Yeah. If you are thinking about leading something like that, we'll be happy to collaborate with you, Sina, if you have an international program that you want to apply to.
And maybe we all get to travel to some exotic place.
Yeah, I think this, yeah, why not? I mean, just offering a workshop like that, I think by itself is really valuable, because then it can support, you know, faculty like you guys, all of us. I learned a lot by going through this project, besides, of course, writing the proposal, but I learned a lot through the project. Yeah. And we'll make sure maybe, you know, to have another discussion on this topic. Sorry. Maybe today or tomorrow as part of the meeting tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, moving right along. Something else we wanted to speak with you today about is the opportunity for research that we would like to engage in with those of you who will be using your module in one of your courses in the near future. So of course, you've all heard about the pre-post design. This is what we've been doing, and this is what my thesis was all about. So the research opportunities that we've had so far have really lent themselves well to the pre-post design option, wherein, of course, we gather the consent from, you know, IRB consent and do all that. And then before the students are introduced to the module, they take a survey from us, which is actually a combination of the student engagement and the student assessment of learning gains that you see here. It's a combo survey, so it's just one survey that has both of those aspects in it. We ask the students to participate in that survey before they use the module. And then of course they use the module for however long it is during that semester. And then at the conclusion, we ask them to take the exact same survey again. But what is particular about the pre-post design is that we ask the students, in taking the survey to specifically be thinking about their experience with the module only and how their use of the module may have influenced their perception of their gains in conceptual knowledge or technical skills. But what we would really like to do is an ABA design, which is somewhat similar. The students would be taking the survey more frequently. So of course, prior to their instruction for the semester, we would ask them to take that the survey from the HydroLearn survey from us, and then they would have some non-HydroLearn instruction, which I would, of course, we'd gather information about the specifics for that particular course, but we could assume that it may be lecture style or something a little less active in its characteristics. And we asked the students to take this survey related to their experience with that. And then they would take the module or use the module. We would ask them for their experience using that. And then after, they would continue with their non-HydroLearn instruction, and we would provide the SALG again after that. And then if possible, collect student work. That's something that we have yet to do and would be great to do in the future. And then also collect student interviews, which is something that we have done in the past, and those can be very illuminating, the information that we can gather directly from a student after the conclusion of their use of the module or their semester. Melissa, at this time, do you kind of want to gauge their interest in who'd be available for an ABA design? Or
so mostly I want you to think about which one of these would be a good fit for you. And then we'll end up meeting, most of you will end up meeting one-on-one with me to do, to write up your IRB applications, depending on how your IRB works. And so then at that time, we could talk more if you're interested in the ABA or the pre-post. But if you're particularly excited about doing kind of an ABA or even a comparison group design, if you teach 2 sections of a course, or if there's someone else at your university who teaches that same course who might be interested in collaborating, feel free to mention that to me, and I'll keep a list. And then as we're working through your IRBs, we'll write those up a little bit differently.
okay, so any questions about the design options that we're looking at before I move forward into greater details with this? Okay, so more details about the data that we plan to collect. In terms of the student data, we do ask for their informed consent. Obviously, this isn't part of our data, but it is a necessary step. And then, like I mentioned just previously, we do have one survey that is a combination of a student course engagement survey and the student assessment of learning gains survey. We actually use Qualtrics for this, and it takes the students 10 minutes or so to complete the survey. And then if we can, we'd also like to do individual interviews with students, and we already have a semi-structured interview protocol in place for that. It leaves us the flexibility to ask more probing questions based on what the students' responses are, just so we can get a clearer sense of their experience with the use of one of our modules. So in addition to collecting student data, we also like to hear from our wonderful fellows. So as we move forward post-workshop and as part of the checkout tasks, you'll see that we do ask when you plan to implement the module in your course, if it's undergraduate level, graduate level course, if you plan to use it entirely inside of your course, outside of your, inside lecture, outside lecture, any combination of that. There's a lot of details we like to collect from you, and we'll be doing that at the conclusion of the workshop. Additionally, we will interview you. We do have a semi-structured interview protocol for that as well. And we have a survey that we will send out after the semester that you had used your module. And IRB, this is not my area of forte. I will do my best. Inside of your shared fellows folder, you will see that we have a folder that has documents in there relating to the IRB process. Inside of that, if I recall correctly, there is like pre-prepared language that you can send in an email to your IRB board just to sort of get the ball rolling. Melissa, could you speak about the IRBs? Anything I may have missed here?
Yeah, so every single university operates slightly differently in their IRB. We have worked with universities, yeah, like across the world, and their institutional review boards. So we will happily help you with that and look through that process. Jenny, would you open that subfolder to show what's there? So there is a Google Doc right there called Getting IRB Approval. Would you open that for us, please, Jenny?
Maybe.
And so that gives you some guidelines. Basically, I wrote the text of the email for you. So I gave you some notes at the top and then wrote the text of the email below. The University of Louisiana at Lafayette found our study to be exempt. But if we're going to collect data from your students, you'll need to check that your university will accept our exemption. Some universities will accept it with no issue. Some universities will challenge it. Some universities will want a reliance agreement. Some universities will want you to go through full IRB. One thing actually that I plan to do is go through your list of universities with the fellows from last year, because we might be able to call it an extension of the IRB filed by another fellow if there was another fellow from your same university, or if there's a PI at your same university. So that might facilitate the process somewhat. So sometimes you'll send this. So if you kind of that paragraph at the bottom there, I'm a participant in an NSF project. So you can copy that and send it to your IRB board today. Every IRB website is different. The way you contact them is different. All right, so yes, Alyssa, the plan is to publish the data. So thanks for asking that question. Yeah, like Alyssa saying, every single university is going to treat this differently. And so I'll work with you one-on-one to see what the requirements will be for your institution. And yes, the plan is to publish, and all that's included in ULL's IRB exemption. Although all I linked there for you was just the exempted page, not the more detailed.
It seems to me you have to give the IRB board a little bit more information what you're actually doing. So it's maybe that student consent form describes the project a little bit. So shouldn't that be attached to that email?
No, you don't need to attach the student consent form to that email, because if your IRB wants more information, that student consent form is not going to be enough to satisfy them. And if your IRB is happy enough to accept that ULL's IRB said it was exempt, and so they'll honor that, then that ULL approval exempt will be enough. If your IRB wants more information, then they're going to have very specific questions that I will help you to answer. So it very much depends on your university. So for instance, last year, we had a fellow from Johns Hopkins University. They have quite a stringent IRB. And after a little bit of time of trying to jump through their hoops, we determined that the amount of effort was not worth the data that we would collect. Whereas other institutions are not necessarily easier, but there's just a continuum.
But maybe Martin was asking, doesn't this draft email have to sort of at least say kind of what the goal and sort of data is that would be collected, rather than just jumping in to UL IRB details?
So I hear that question, and my answer is no. We want to give them as little information as possible, because the easiest ones to get through will say another university found it exempt. We honor that university. We don't need to hear anything else about it. Other universities are going to have very specific questions. And so it's more like give them as little information as possible till you get accepted is kind of the best approach with an IRB. I see the apprehension in your face.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I've done
I
these.
mean, I would always, it's in my nature to provide information, but sure.
I agree with David.
Yeah, so I've done these at about 20 different universities now across the world. And so if you want to give all of the information, you are welcome to write up about it using your IRB's approval form. The University of Houston, our approval form is about 24 pages, single spaced. So if we get them to rely to a reliance or to rely on UL's decision that it's exempt, then that saves us from having to do your 24 pages, which are slightly different than what another universities would be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's actually moot for me, because I guess we've already got our IRB to recognize UL. So for the Utah State folks who hear, it should be straightforward. But for others, this is where the information is useful.
Yeah. Any other questions about the IRB? So we are going to ask that you, during your work time today, or if you have some lag time, send this email today, because it can take months to get this process done, depending on your IRB and the way that they operate, or it can be done in a few days. So the quicker we get it started, the quicker we get it done.
Do y'all have any more questions for Melissa before we move on to tech things?
I just wanted to double check. The IRB thing is if we want to collect information and not for the pre and the post work survey thing, right?
The pre and the post survey that your students will complete is considered data. And so that's why we have an IRB, is to collect those data.
So even for that, we have to, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Nice haircut, Sina.
Okay. Moving right along to Tech Talk, which I suspect is the closest I'll ever get to giving a TED Talk. All right. So first up, I've received a few questions about how you suggest you work with HydroLearn and your own learning management system, whether that be like Moodle, Canvas, Blackboard. I mean, I don't know what else is out there anymore. But our suggestion is that you use your LMS as a launching pad to direct your students to complete, X amount of work on HydroLearn, and then they return to your LMS and submit their work. And the reason that we do this is obviously it influences the design of your module, and we do want those to be as adoptable as possible. So when we're using the general language of, submit such and such on your own LMS, it really opens up the door for other instructors to pick up your module and run with it in the way that they see fit. So that's why we recommend it. We have used this method very successfully in many different classes here at UL. And this is also the method that our previous cohort of fellows used with no issues. So typically what we do when we assign a HydroLearn assignment to students is that we post the HydroLearn module in the LMS, and then we tell students to, go complete section 1. Obviously, when they get to the end of section 1, there may be a report to write, there may be a results template to turn in, but regardless, they come back to your LMS and submit it there. So what we do, here's a fine example from Dr. Habib's advanced hydrology class last semester. He adapted, Dr. Habib changed up the physical hydrology module that originally belongs to Belize. So he provides a link for the students to find that module. He gives them the assignment, work through section, whatever, and then you come back and you submit your work on our LMS. And from there, you can grade the student work and post the grades as you typically would. I'm just going to go ahead. I know there's questions, just hit me with them. These screens. Okay, I don't see any raised hands. Going once, going twice, gone. The next item is kind of confusing for some people. I'm going to do the best that I can here. So module viewing settings. So right now, your module is hidden. So right now, your module isn't necessarily considered public or private. It is considered under construction. Okay. So this applies for when your module is done, right? And you're ready to release it to the world. So the way that you could change your module to public or private is via the advanced settings and using course visibility for unenrolled learners. But before I show you exactly how to do that, I would like to explain exactly what this entails and why it can be somewhat complicated. So you may have heard from now that, of course, we use Open edX as the backbone of HydroLearn, but some of the settings and features that are still with us don't work the same for us as it would for Open edX. So that's why I'm giving you this little shindig talk here. So private, if you set your course visibility for unenrolled learners to private, the students will see an enroll button just like this on your course about page. So if a learner wanted to, participate in your module and it was set to private, they would have to enroll. However, if you just have it set to private, this doesn't stop any old Joe from off the street enrolling in your module. What this setting is good for is if you want to track who is using your module, and that can be useful for some people. So, and if I will, on the next slide, I'll continue how you can restrict that private setting, but public. So public outline and public work in essence the same, and this is something that is unique to our instance of edX. So for the public outline, that you'll see some descriptive text for what the public outline does. You can ignore it because it doesn't work like that for us. So for the public outline, an unenrolled learner could see everything in the same way as if your module was just set to public. So in my mind, these two things are the exact same thing. So if you set it to public, if someone navigates to your about page, they will see something that looks like this. It'll just have the view course button, and there's no restrictions whatsoever for anyone to use your module. This is as wide open as it gets, okay, as accessible as your module can possibly be. However, we understand that may not work for everybody. So you can think of anything I'm about to tell you now as a complement to the private setting. So if you want to simplify things, if you want to leave your module as completely public as possible, totally tune me out right now, okay? So for everybody else, if you want to set your module to private and restrict access to it, here's on. Okay, so there are two options you can do to restrict the access to your module. The first is to invite your students to enroll by sending them a link. And this is called the invitation only setting, which can be changed under the advanced settings page. So as you can guess, it reduces the enrollment to only those who have been invited. This is how you change your module to be invitation only on the advanced settings page. You go to invitation only and you type in true between the quotation marks. By default, this is set to false. So if you want invitation only, you must go do this. And all you have to do is send the link to your about page to your students, and then they will see this that says enroll now. They're going to get this private view here, and it's invitation only. Only they are getting in. Hello. Your other option is batch enrollment. And using batch enrollment, you can enroll all of your students just using a CSV file. So this file should only contain their email addresses. It is particularly easy to use batch enrollment if your students have never used HydroLearn before, just because you know, they would be fresh to HydroLearn, they wouldn't have an account, and by sending them their email, or by sending the batch enrollment to their particular email, you sort of limit the email that they use to create the HydroLearn account. You know, you kind of dictate what that would be, which I'm going to assume is just their university account. In order to do batch enrollment, you would have to go to the View Live version of your module. You go to the Instructor tab, Membership section, and then Batch Enrollment. And then in there are steps that guide you through the process of uploading that CSV and getting those invitations sent to their emails. And those invitations are sent via HydroLearn. And this was a real quick and dirty high-level overview of settings, so visibility settings and enrollment options. And I strongly, strongly encourage you to go read this course enrollment and viewing section of HydroLearn 101. I mean, it tells you down to the details, like if you're, you know, if you, let's say for example, that your students have used HydroLearn before, how do you get them in your new module? What emails will they receive? What is the subject of the email? What is inside the email? All of that. So it really paints a very clear picture of what you can do and what your students will see and what they will be able to do. Yes, so that is a very informative page in HydroLearn. So do y'all have any questions for me about visibility or enrollment before I move forward?
Ginny, I have a question. All right, go ahead, Nate.
Sorry, Alex. So this may be too early in the process, but say I wanted to use 3 of these modules, including mine for my class this semester. How do I, when I'm adapting those, it seems like I don't want to add that to the list of modules because my adaptations may not be that good, or they may not, you know, they're specific for my class. Would it be better to keep those private? And in doing so, is there a way to keep that from the main menu of options for people to select? Because I don't want to necessarily clutter the, you know, the HydroLearn space with, you know, the stuff from my course.
That is a really good question, Nate, and that's something I really grappled with last time. And it seems to me that there isn't a way to keep the course listings decluttered, as you say. So regardless, it's going to show up in course listings, but we can restrict who gets in. And because of this, we do ask that you make the module sufficiently different from any other course listing you may see. And what I mean by that is change the course card image, change the title, change the organization, just do something so it's not identical to another module. And in that way, it helps your students find your unique module and you know, the adaptation that you need.
And if I may add to that, Jenny, so in the about page, Nate, maybe you can make that really clear, saying this is a very similar copy, very similar module to that module. You know, if you are interested in the topic, go and visit that other module. This is just for whatever, you see what I'm saying? So this way you kind of send people to the original copy, and also in the title, like Jenny was saying, maybe you can, in parentheses, you say, your university or something like that, offering, or just something to make a distinction from the others. But
so I could paint like Roll Tide across everything, and that would be something that would distinguish it.
Well, just remember, I can see everything and I control everything, and I'm an LSU graduate, so proceed at your own risk.
I thought we were going to be friends, Jenny. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Nate, you never stood a chance. So yeah, piggybacking off what Dr. Habib said, you'll actually find that in the module template that you used, in the About page area, we do have language there, as you finish your module, that says, is your module adapted from something else? Give them proper credit, say how it was changed, et cetera, et cetera. So that is one of the boxes you're going to have to check before we, give your model to go ahead. Alex?
Right, so I just wanted to get some clarity. So when you set the module to private, you said pretty much anybody can enroll, right? And so on the back end of that, what's the implication? Is it that in terms of how might some Jim or Jack off the street sort of influence what I'll be looking at on the back end if they do enroll in the course?
So what it would look like for you is that you would see that this person is enrolled and that they are progressing through your module. But if that doesn't matter to you, then just setting it as private is just fine. We offer those further restrictions for people who only want their students in their module at that time.
Okay. And then another question, when you set it to public, the button that you gave there as an example is view course, but then do they just view, or they still actively participate in the course? Or when
kind of confusing, it's a bit of a misnomer. So the way that I interpret that button as view course is they can view everything in your course and interact with it and participate. They can do the CYUs, they can do your learning activities, they can do everything. They can view everything, right? Without enrollment.
And so on one hand, we would want people the whole world to see the module, right? And so would the recommendation be that we set it at private, if that's what we want to do for the semester that we're teaching it, if we just want to restrict it, and then thereafter we set it to public so that everybody would be able to have access to it?
Yes, that is what we suggest, and that's actually what we practice. So we understand that you may not want a public version while you're using it. We just ask that you provide us one, at some point, because that is the purpose of our platform, right? Is to make these learning resources available for everyone.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Oh, wait, let me show you. Let me see if I have something pulled up already. Not really. Okay. So all of the visibility and enrollment settings are in your advanced settings page. So inside your course outline, you hit settings, advanced settings. Let's see what we got here, visibility. Okay, so here we have course visibility for unenrolled learners. And it tells you the 3 values that you can set it to with a little bit of, details about each one. So what I was speaking about earlier, it's here where it says public outline, allow access to course outline, ignore that. It doesn't really work for us. As well as this course visibility in catalog. regardless of what you put in here, nothing changes. And that, I assume, is because, you know, this is just our instance of Open edX. Makes things a bit wonky, but that's okay. So all you need to worry about here is the course visibility for unenrolled learners. And then, the way, let's see, so, invitation only is another one that's here. So invitation only, oh, well, you just type true or false. There's no quotation marks, but you get the point. That's where you would set that invitation only restriction. And what complements the invitation only is that obviously you then have to invite your students. And the way that you could share your about page link is to go to settings, schedule and details, and go to this super obvious hyperlink hidden right here. This takes you to your about page. And then of course you would just copy this link and share it with your students. Invitation only. And then we would do view live. I'll show you where batch enrollment is. So in order to have this view live button, you have to be in your course outline. Hit view live. And go into that instructor page. Membership. And then the batch enrollment is here. You can auto-enroll learners, select the role of them, and you can notify them that they've been enrolled as well. And this is just for beta testers. I would ignore that. It's not necessary. Okay, so that is how you would do it in Studio itself. And all of this is available on in that 101 page for you. Let's see, and the last thing for tech today is Mobileview. Students can use your module on their cell phones if you have this turned on. That's kind of neat. And you could do that in your advanced settings. Here we go. Mobile course available, set to true. All right, so that's very straightforward there. Something that's important to note is that if you do plan on making your module available for mobile users, it's even more important that you hyperlink your images to appear larger, because otherwise it can appear distorted on a cell phone or a tablet, what have you. So if you plan on going mobile, you need to double check your images. And that concludes my tech talk for today. What questions do you guys have for me? Okay, I'm going to interpret your silence is that I'm doing an excellent job, which honestly, we all already knew that. So, okay, so one last note before we send you on your way. Just a reminder that as you are organizing your content in your module, we ask that you just be a bit descriptive in what that content is. So on the left, we have the thing that you should not do, which is just list background. It's not very informative if I'm just looking at the outline, like doesn't tell me anything. And on the right is what we recommend that you do. Instead of just putting background, which is nondescript and practically useless, you could instead break it down by topic, just so it gives us a greater idea or a clearer idea of what is inside of a subsection. Which leads me to the send off. Okay, we're ready for partner time today. We ask that you obviously get the ball rolling on that IRB process because it can take forever and you never know. And of course, just continue working on your modules. So let's see, do the PIs have anything they want to chime in before I send you on your way? All right, everyone. I'm going to open up the rooms. As always, if you have any questions, we are here for you. Oh, thank you, Eileen. That's really nice. So just come back if you have questions or summon us. You know the deal. We're all pros at this now. All right, bye, everyone.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Jenny, we'll just make sure that we tag Zena in anything that we post for the chats.
Okay. All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome back. We hope you had a very productive session. I definitely had a few good questions tossed my way, and I actually want to take this opportunity to answer a question that somebody asked me. I can't remember who it was, but I guess this is important enough to tell everyone. I don't even know how many ever days ago. It's all a blur. Someone asked me if you could put GIFs in your module, and yes, you can. You upload your .gif file into your files and uploads, and you copy the studio link, and you can paste it into, hey now, don't be like this. And you can paste it into, I'm a hot mess, you guys, I'm sorry. And you paste it into this code right here that starts with IMG and ends. Oh. It doesn't end in IMG, but I think this still works. And this is just an example of what it would look like if you uploaded your GIF. So there you go, my friends. There's something in the chat.
Jenny, can you do it all the way? Can you put that in?
Absolutely. Well, Sam and Alex, I'll delete this in a minute. So let me see. HTML text. Let me go back and copy. Here. Aw. Oh, that's because this isn't in their files and uploads. So of course that doesn't work. I can pull up an example from a previous year. I'm sorry I didn't have this lined up, folks. It was. It was in here. Here we go. So this was the example actually that I pulled. This is from a previous fellow where he inserted a GIF inside of an HTML text editor. And the source code that we were looking at is this right here. And he just copied this static the distributions GIF from his files and uploads. And I'll show you how to do that. Close. Don't save anything. So if you go to contents, files and uploads, I'm going to go look for his GIF. And copy the studio link. So this is his GIF right here. I just came here and copied the studio link. I'm going to go back to my HTML text editor. I want to edit in HTML. And I go back to the chunk of code we're looking at, and then I would paste the source code right here. You can change the alternative text as well and configure the height and width as necessary. And then that is what it will look like in action. It'll just continually loop. Okay.
Am I missing something? Is this more secure than just pasting an image in the, what's the difference?
Let me try to answer your question. So when you paste an image, it goes into your files and uploads. This was just a demonstration on specifically how do you do GIFs, because I don't know that you can just put a GIF in there and it will actually animate. That's why I suggested this route instead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. So moving right along, day 7.
Is there a difference between using studio addresses and web addresses? So am I right to say studio addresses are when we're using it in the HTML code?
You know, someone asked me this just a second ago, and I can't think of any instance where I copy the web URL rather than the studio URL.
Okay. Because when I was putting the thumbnail of the course, I used the web address because for some reason the studio address was not working, but maybe I didn't wait for it to upload, and but I ended up using the web address.
Are you talking about the course card image?
Yeah.
That's pretty odd because I thought that all you did was, upload it right there. It should have gone to your files and uploads, and you don't need to hyperlink anything.
No, I uploaded to the files, but then instead of using the studio address, I used the web address.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Clearly you do use the web address here. So that's a good catch, Sina. Thanks for pointing that out. So for your course card image, you need to do files and uploads, copy the web address rather than the studio, and that works. But I mean, really, that's the only time I can think to copy the web URL. But I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, I don't know if this helps or not. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the static address works if you want to show things within the same course. Suppose you want to use the same thing across a different course, the web address will work, but the static address will not. Now, again, we are not moving things across courses, but I think that's the idea. But from just the background, from a back-end perspective, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I think this is what the intention is.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's why we had those two, but since we kind of got away from that functionality,
Right.
it's become a bit pointless. Okay. So any more questions about GIFs or files and uploads, anything like that? Any questions, honestly? Okay. So what we like to do on our last day is make unique adventures for y'all based on feedback we received from you today. So is there any particular topic that you would like for us to revisit? Oh, thanks, Melissa. That's amazing. And then based on your feedback today, that can sort of dictate what topics we would have available for you to choose from tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and look at our live responses to see what's coming in. Okay, so I see equations, and you can upvote these too. And if we have we have either a recurring request or a popular one that has been upvoted a lot, those are typically the ones that we go for. I'm kind of sensing a general tech talk. We can do equations, configuring access, student discussions as well, more equations. Textbooks or not, if yes, share your favorite online free textbook. This keeps popping up, but I don't know. I think we just need to address that question. I haven't reviewed every module, so I may need some help from the content advisors here, but does anyone recall a module that uses a open access textbook content guides? I certainly can't think of any module that I've come across. Dave?
No, but I think I don't know of a module that uses that. I know of a few online textbooks that I could certainly provide the links to. But I think we do need to discuss this issue in general, because textbooks are a true and tried way of having material available, and we think we need to find a happy way to rely on them.
I can see that More Time to Work is very popular. You're about to have a load of time because tomorrow is the last day of the workshop. So I'm going to guess the emphasis of these likes is really placed on the requirements and timing of next steps, which that is happening tomorrow, independent of your choose your own adventure. Everyone has to listen to us tell you the requirements and timing of next steps. So that one, that doesn't really count as an adventure because you're going to get it anyway. You can't avoid it. So it looks like we want to have a talk about collaboration opportunities. Does anyone want to elaborate on that? So collaboration with each other, previous fellows, what do you have in mind here?
Sina has his hand up. I don't know if she knows.
No, I didn't. Hi, Sina.
Hey, not about collaboration, but about the open access book. I was wondering if a book is open access, would it be fine to share the link to our own Dropbox or Google Drive of the copy of the book? Because every time students want to use that book, they have to go back and sign in through the university library. So it may get a little bit of a hassle for them. But if it's open access, is it allowed to do that?
I'll let Dave take that one.
I think you just have to read what the particular open access copyright requirement says. I mean, I don't know. Open access is probably a little bit vague, but most open access papers have a Creative Commons license that sort of says share and share alike. And that does allow you to redistribute PDF versions of those papers. You'll have to see what it says for the book that you have in mind.
Okay. So it looks like our PIs will stick around after and determine which topic we are going to run with tomorrow, but we will notify you in the morning what we have chosen, so that way you can kind of be thinking about which room is the best for you. And along those same lines, in order for you to choose, so obviously these little choose your own adventure talks will be in their own breakout room. So you will have the opportunity tomorrow to choose your breakout room for these adventures. And in order to do that, you need to update your Zoom. I'm guessing just to the latest update. Melissa has provided this handy how-to image. I appreciate that. So inside of your Zoom, it looks like you click on your face to reach your account, or to reach this drop-down menu, and then check for updates and make sure that you have the most recent update available for Zoom, so you can choose your own party room, if you will.
So if you do that now, it won't download the update now, but it'll pull up a window, and as soon as you log out of the call, it'll start updating. So I don't know about you, but I can't remember to do a task from 1 minute to the next, much less 40 minutes later. So if you pull up your kind of Zoom, Jenny, will you let me share? Oh, actually, I could just kick you off. If you open this kind of Zoom menu now, and you click on your face and then check
We're
for
not
updates.
seeing that.
You're not seeing that. Of course, I clicked on the wrong share screen. Share screen, try this one more time. Can you see my Zoom now?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I know why. It's because I told it not to share my Zoom window. Okay. Anyway, you can do it right now. Let's see if this works. Can you see Zoom now?
Yes.
All right. So if you click on your face and check for updates, I already updated, but it'll just put a little like loading bar behind your screen. And then as soon as you're done with this call, as soon as you log out, it'll update for you. So if you have this screen open, then you should be able to still open Zoom and do that here. And by doing that, now you get to all see yourselves. By doing that, you'll be able to pick your own breakout room tomorrow. So you'll be able to move yourself where you want to go. All right, Jenny.
Very cool. Very cool. It turns out that I can't speak and do content rooms at the same time. So just enjoy looking at each other's faces while I do this. Melissa, you want to guide them through the last slide?
I already made the content rooms for you. So in your content room, you're just going to share something that you want feedback on that you worked on today. we'll see you tomorrow.
This breakout room did not update for me, which was
No, it doesn't update in another person's window.
Well, thank
Oh,
you.
hey, Sina, I see your hand up now.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask something. Since it is possible that Zara may not be able to make it tomorrow again,
Mhm.
in that case, are you happy for me to skip the first part of the workshop and attend this? Because this last hour is 7 a.m. my time, and I'm more than happy to get up early. I kind of like that. So I'm happy to attend the last part, but I committed to attend the whole thing, so no questions asked here. But if it's okay to be flexible for the last day, would that be a possibility?
Yeah, that definitely works for me. Jenny, are you reassigning the people who are joining us now?
Mhm.
That works for me for sure, Sina. And then the only thing I would ask is we always record the session. So if you would just watch the morning session, I mean, session 1, your middle of the night session, that way, because we will go over a lot of like nitty gritty with the details and when we want things submitted and how things need to be submitted. And I can always do that with you at the very end of the day. But if you watch the video, that'll just help.
I'll do that. Thanks for being flexible.
Of course. Thanks for joining us in the middle of the night.
I love it.
Good, I'm glad.
Thank you.
All right, Jenny, I'm going to join my room.
Okay.